Welcome to my YouTube channel, guys. Super happy to be here. This is an exciting episode for me to get into because I got my friend Dohn Thornton here and caught my attention because he is one of America's top short sale investors. For those of you who know my story, when I re-entered the world of real estate investing in 2012 after the financial crisis, I was a short sale investor. And so I made millions of dollars in buying short sales. In fact, a large chunk of my wealth came from properties that I bought in 2010, 11, and 12. And I held those properties until 2019 when I sold them for a 10x exit. And so I'm super excited to get into the world of short sales with you. And then I also understand that you help folks understand how to minimize their tax burdens. And so, Don, we're going to get into all of that.
Great.
But before any of that, guys, make sure you check out the links in the description because you are going to want to subscribe to Don's YouTube channel. He is a wealth of information and somebody that you should be getting to know, somebody that you should be tracking, and someone whose content you need to be consuming. Don, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you, man. So wind me back. Tell me how you got into the world of short sales and how did you become one of America's top short sale investors? Because for those folks who don't know the game of short sales, it's a long game. I mean, it takes time to get a short sale approved and you got to have a lot of balls in the air to make this a business model. So explain this to us. Walk us through how this happened and how you're managing to create an incredible business model out of working with banks in short sales.
Well, I got started out of sheer desperation because I got fired from my job, and
power of broke.
I decided that I wanted to be a real estate investor. The question was what strategy talked to me, sang to me, as you would say. And there's just something about the idea that I can create equity out of thin air just by negotiating. To me, that
Right.
was myself. Most other investments, at the time, I didn't really know too much about wholesaling. But for me, I thought to myself, okay, well, you fix and flip, or you buy and hold. And then the short sale was like, this is interesting because I have to risk money, either my money or other people's money, when I do a fix and flip.
Correct.
Whereas in a short sale, the profit is being generated just by sheer ornery and negotiations ability. I just thought that was fantastic, a fantastic business model. And I'm not saying it took me. I just like that. I did it. I mean, it took me a good 2 years before I got my first closing, but when I did, I went up like a rocket.
Understandable. And so, Don, it's an interesting dynamic negotiating with a bank in a short sale because it's way different than the emotional negotiation that can happen when you're going direct to seller or when you're negotiating through a fiduciary like a real estate agent. There's human elements involved. And what's different about working with a bank is that typically they have asset managers or people in departments who aren't really financially at stake. They don't have any skin in the game. They're not compensated based off how much the bank loses or how much the bank doesn't lose. They really, their job is to get the asset off the books. And so essentially, if you can build relationships with these individuals, you might be able to do better. So how does this game of negotiating and finding these short sales work? What's the process?
Well, the process that we started doing in 2003 and continued in 2004 is nothing like it is now. Right. I mean, it's like comparing a Model T to a Tesla. I mean, you had to be so much more sophisticated now than you did back in the day. But I would say that the key element for our continued success is that we reverse engineered everything from the point of view of the negotiator. The one person that's going to say, yes, we recommend this offer be taken, or they say no. Because for people who don't know about how short sales work, I mean, you can get the negotiator to say yes. That doesn't mean you're going to get a short sale. It has to be submitted to the investor, whoever owns the mortgage, for final approval. And so we made it. Well, I guess there was two principles. Number one is we do not want to be too greedy on our offers because that just burns bridges. And second of all, we said we're going to give everything that the negotiator needs to get this file approved quickly and reasonably. And every single thing that we provide, we have documentation. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. We will submit 70, 80 pages worth of documentation and reports about every single thing there is in the short sale. So all that negotiator has to do is just check off boxes, and that person has a done for you basically file that can be submitted to the lender, or I should say the owner of the mortgage, to get it approved.
So what's the length of time in compiling a file like that? I mean, if you're, for me, for instance, when I'm looking at making verbal offers as a wholesaler, right? I teach thousands of folks across the country how to find opportunities, possibly from the MLS or through working with agents and other wholesalers.
Mhm.
And of course, for us, it's always a volume, right? You want to get out anywhere between 5 to 10 offers a day, whether they be verbal or written. And if you do that, you can carve out a business where you're making, 5 to 7 wholesale transactions a month. Where if you're making $10,000 a deal, you can make 50 to 70K a month, which is not a bad living. That's a tremendous opportunity. But when you're talking about compiling 80 pages, right? Like, how long does an offer take, and how many of these offers get approved for the time commitment that it requires?
Most of them do get approved. I mean, you're going to have issues with VA, just because you get a bad VA appraisal, then you're dead for 4 months. You're not. You can your value disputes aren't as promising with VA, unfortunately. But I would say that it's a combination, right? I mean, when I first got started, I mean, I'm like a lot of old school short sale people. We met the appraisers and the BPO agents at the property and did our best to schmooze them and so forth, and it was easy. But after the reforms that were instituted with short sales after the Great Recession, when people like us were making millions of dollars doing this, they tightened it up a little bit. But you know what? You can still do it. And we start when we get the property. We start when it
Okay.
gets into our pipeline, because at that point in time, we are putting together the preliminary uh, file or preliminary documentation for the appraiser. Okay. Then we add on, if we don't hit our number, then we add on even more during the value dispute. And then once we know exactly what the bank wants, and we try to chip away as much as we can, we still try to get it down a little bit lower. And that's when we add more documentation to it. And so it's a process. So it's not like when you get a short selling pipeline, you immediately spend some time getting a report done, and that's it. I mean, I mean, like Hillary Clinton said back in the day, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it's like it takes a process to get that point where eventually, when you submit the offer for final approval, that you already have everything in place.
Got it. And so, are you doing this as a real estate agent? Are you doing this as a private investor? Like, what's your angle when you're approaching the asset negotiator?
Well, I have a partner who's a broker, so we've been working
Okay.
together for 16 years, and so she's the one that's actually, the face of the negotiation.
Got it.
Whereas my organization, is more about the acquisition side of it.
So
Okay,
you're finding the initial lead.
we're getting the properties in the pipeline. Yes.
Understood.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Where do those properties come from, and how many of these can you create in a month?
Well, it's funny. I mean, obviously everything changed after COVID, but February 20th was the last month here in Florida where we were able to have a full month without any kind of mortgage or excuse me foreclosure moratorium. But if you remember, the economy was still good. The real estate market was hot. Still, it was, even back then, it was still going well.
Right.
We got 26 foreclosures just in Florida alone that month, and that was a combination of referrals and just contacting people in the fresh foreclosure filings in all the courts. And the COVID, of course, when they shut down, when they had a moratorium, that really challenged us, because we lost one of our steadiest ways of getting the foreclosures in the pipeline in Florida was through the courts. But we basically had to pivot, and we went really, really hard on talking to wholesalers. We really
Mm.
decided, you know what, they're the ones beating the bushes down. We're going to do that. We also talked to agents about, look, you know what, do you really want to handle a short sale? Why not just give it to us, and we'll give you 25% commission and so forth. So that really caused us to, it's a good thing, because we diversified. Whereas before, we kind of got a little bit lazy, because it was just like casting your net into the water and pulling fish in. I mean, with the courts, because we were so good. And listen, uh, not many people can say they've been doing something since 2004 and have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau since 2004 and have that kind of volume, it really makes you stand out from the competition. And
Absolutely. It's interesting, right? As the market has done what it's done, there a lot of folks, even the ones who are in foreclosure, they're positive in equity, right? And so a guy like that isn't really somebody that you necessarily do business with, right? So you're looking at somebody who is over leveraged on their property. And so
yeah,
are these newer mortgages or what's
yes,
what's
yes.
the timeline of what makes a good candidate for a
Well,
deal for you?
I mean, when we reach out on our cold marketing for the foreclosure list, I mean, our first question is when we say we'd like to make you an offer, and they say, well, what is it? I mean, we automatically go to what we call the magic question. Do you owe more than what the house is worth, or do you have equity? Because we want to know right then. We're qualifying right then. Where are they? If they say, no, I don't have any equity, I don't have much, then we know it's a short sale. So we go immediately to the short sale script. Okay. If it's an equity deal, it's not like I don't I mean, it's not like we don't do deals that have equity. I mean, we do a lot of subject to deals. It's
Hmm.
just that we feel like our profit is in the short sales because we can control the negotiations. Whereas, and right now lately, you've got, I mean, realtors are like sometimes they're desperate to get a listing. They'll discount their commission like you wouldn't believe. And so, for a lot of people go for that. So we found that it was just we get more bang for our buck, maybe being a little bit more selective on focusing more on the short sales. And if we can't get a good subject to deal, then we'll just move on to the next, basically. But once we've qualified
Yep.
that they are upside down, then we're going to get them 9 times out of 10, we get that short sale in our pipeline.
I think it's brilliant. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, what they do is, as wholesalers that they're going out and having conversations with homeowners and
Mhm.
they're seeing if there's a problem that they can solve. And they're always looking for equity, of course, right? Or an opportunity or for potential equity, right? So
Right,
if a renovation can be done and value can be added and there's a potential gap there, it's a great wholesale opportunity.
right.
But what's been happening is a lot of these newer sales or the people who purchased in the last 3 years, they have good mortgages attached, but they're still upside down because they bought at really high prices. And right
Yeah.
now the market's kind of doing this, right? And so
Mhm.
this opportunity for what you do is ripe. In fact, but what people have been doing is they've been converting those into a subject to deals where they're taking over a note
Mhm.
where really they're taking over a note that's a lot greater
Yeah.
than the actual property value so that they can cash flow it doing like a
Right.
short-term rental or a
Mhm.
corporate rental. Now again, for me as a conservative investor, my one of my best friends and closest collaborators, Pace Morby, the founder of Sub2, he teaches this strategy and it works for a lot of folks.
Mhm.
They assign these deals or they sell them to buy and hold investors who cash flow them or
Mhm.
short-term rental investors who cash flow them, the opportunity works.
Mhm.
I personally, however, wouldn't buy a deal like that because I'm not a fan of collecting leverage. I'm not a fan of taking over notes, especially when those notes may be worth more than what the property value is. And so going this route of possibly negotiating a short sale would be an advantage for me. This would be something that I'd be wanting to do more of than
Yeah.
taking over property subject to. So people in the astro flipping community who are watching this,
Mhm.
they're having conversations with wholesalers and agents all day. And these types of scenarios where you've got a house that's upside down
Mhm.
slightly pops up, then the realtors don't even want to deal with it because there's no way for them to make a commission, right?
Right.
They're like the agents are pensive. It's not really worth their time. And
Mhm.
so walk me through this, Don. What would the process be, right? So a wholesaler has an opportunity. How do they work with you? What does this whole thing look like?
Well,
And
I tell them, especially here in Florida, where I'm, that's where the hub of my business has always been. I say, look, just when you're doing your normal marketing, your prospecting, just add that question in there right away, so if it's an equity deal, do your wholesaling thing. But if they don't say they don't have much equity or they're upside down, then that's when you say, you know what, you sound like you need a short sale. My partner has been doing short sales for 20 years. Done well over 3,000. A+ rating, the Better Business Bureau, whatever. Why don't I get him on the phone? And so I tell
and
them.
that's it.
I don't want them to do anything more because the more they talk, the more they'll screw it up because they don't know the short sale scripts, and I don't want them to. It's like, you know what? Just pass them to me. And then we'll sign a joint venture agreement. We'll do all the heavy lifting, and then we'll do the exit strategy and make money and move on. And what I'm also doing, and this is a niche that we've had a lot of success with lately, is there's a lot of people that are foreclosures are being filed, and it turns out that the homeowner passed away, and you'll see the LP, the list pendants say heirs of, or this person as personal representative or whatever. And so usually if they hit the foreclosures, then there's no money there, there's no
Right.
easy equity there, most likely they're upside down. And so people automatically assume, well, the person's dead, you can't do anything about it because you got to do probate. But you can do a probate and a short sale at the same time. And there's even more motivation for the banks to give better deals because they know it's going to be a real estate owned property soon. And here in Florida, I mean, the longer a property stays vacant, the more the mold's going to build up. That's just the way it is, and they're going to have more cost the longer this property stays out there. So we use that to our advantage, and we have an attorney we work with that can do the probate as we're doing the short sale. So why not, right? And it's like nobody goes after those houses, and we do, and it's a really good niche for us.
That's brilliant, man. I'm always looking for new tools and new ways for the wholesaling community to add another tool to their tool belt, right?
Mhm.
So, oftentimes, again, I'm the cash guy. I'm the cash offer guy. I'm always looking for potential equity. And so when people from the Astro community are evaluating deals, they'll use my comping guidelines, and they'll
Mhm.
underwrite, and they'll say, okay, does this have a potential in it or not?
Mhm.
Now, right now, we're looking at the state of the market, and sales have slowed; they've grinded to a halt. If you look at the MLS, for instance, you're going to
Mhm.
find there's a ton of houses on there that are sitting there that are 30, 60, 90, 120 days on market
Mhm.
sitting. Nothing's happening, right? And if you look at the deed of trust
Mhm.
or the mortgage that's attached to it, you can see that they really don't have an opportunity to come down a lot in price, right? And
Right.
so would even if at the listed price right now, if there
Mhm.
it's not a short sale,
Right.
would communicating with the agent about this, converting this into a possible short sale, would that
Yeah.
be a strategy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for a lot of those realtors, again, they don't want to do the short sales. But there's some that are
That's why
fanatics
they're
like
not
I am.
suggesting it.
Yeah. There's some fanatics like I am that we want them. So that's when you just put a bug in the ear and say, look, you know what, you can get 25% commission out of this and don't have to worry about anything. Just refer it over.
So you've got a wholesaler, another agent, and then you in the deal. How do you guys work that all out? You do a JV with the wholesaler and then pay
JV with
the
the
agent a
wholesaler, and the
referral?
agent does a referral agreement. Yeah.
Incredible, man.
Mhm.
It's incredible. I have to admit, this is an ingenious opportunity and a tool for wholesalers to utilize as they're doing their negotiations, as they're doing their agent outreach, as they're making offers. Everybody in the astro flipping community and the thousands of folks that watch these videos, I want you to take note. This man has an opportunity. Don has a tool for you to use when you are approaching these longer listings. And guys, 2023 is going to be painful. It's
Yep.
going to be painful for a lot of people. And you have to trade, or you have to have access to the tools of pain. And it's interesting because I again re-entered the real estate market in 2010 when the after the Great Recession, and I had suffered through a lot of real estate pain because of the foreclosures and the things that I had gone through economically. And I had very much utilized short sale agents and the short sale process to get myself back into the game and make money. And of course, that was in a time of pain, right? And we're coming into more of that pain. And I believe all of 2023, we are going to be finding more and more of these opportunities. And so, Don, have you created a streamlined process on how individuals can work with you in this effect?
Yes, absolutely. They just need to join my network. They can join my Facebook group, and it's called Short Sale Secrets. And I'm just building a network of people that want to take advantage of this strategy. So
Incredible. Guys, we're going to have the link to the Facebook group in the description, so make sure you guys join that Facebook group. It'll be not only a great opportunity for you to network with other wholesalers within that community, but also find best practices and ways to go and cherry pick these opportunities so that you can JV with Don when you are out there doing your outreach. Now, moving on, Don, you had mentioned how to minimize your tax burden. Now, I don't think you quite understand how much I am interested in this topic, because I'm actually well known for some of my tax situations. Last year, I paid over $700,000 in taxes. I'm looking at another $900,000 bill coming around the corner, and it sucks. It absolutely is one of the hardest things to swallow when you write a check that size to the IRS. And so I really want to pick your brain about this.
Well, what would you say is the main source of your taxes? What type of taxes are you getting hit on?
So when you, it's income tax.
No, I know, but
primarily.
is it ordinary income? Is it capital
Yeah,
gain?
it's ordinary income, because I earn as a wholesaler, and so I'm taking all that income as ordinary income for the most part. It's not like a capital gain or anything like that. It's ordinary income, and so it becomes problematic.
All right, so if I told you that I could show you how you could convert as much as 97% of that ordinary income into a non-taxable event, would that be interesting for you? Would that be
100%.
Okay. I was late to this game because this strategy has been around ever since the U.S. tax code has been instituted, but only the really, really, really rich people knew about it, and it has to do with a special trust. It is called a non-grantor, irrevocable, complex, discretionary spendthrift trust. Okay,
That's a mouthful. Say it one more time, but say it fast. I'm kidding. No, just one more time for us. So for those taking notes.
Non-grantor, irrevocable, complex, discretionary spendthrift trust. Okay.
Okay.
All of these words are pillars for this trust that have a very vital role in, first of all, protecting your assets 100%. This thing is like an iron vault, titanium vault of asset protection. It cannot be penetrated. Even the eminent domain lawsuits get stopped with this trust if you have your assets in the trust, which is amazing. But the rest have to do with the tax reduction. Okay. So I'm going to start with the end. I'm going to have the end of the beginning here. I'm going to tell you what the benefits are. Okay. Using this strategy, number one, if you have income property, or if you have any investment that generates passive income and it's in the trust as an asset, that is not a taxable event for you. As long as the money is allocated to the corpus of the trust and it is not dispersed to the beneficiaries of your trust. Okay.
Okay. So walk me through that. I'm about to buy a house down the road from where I live. I'm going to use it as a rental. I'm buying it in my regular LLC. Are you saying that I should be buying it in the trust instead, or can I transfer it later?
You can do both.
Okay.
You obviously it's if you want to get the tax advantages, you want it in the trust as soon as possible. But what you can do is you can buy it with your LLC and then turn around and then immediately sell it, because it has to be sold. It's an irrevocable trust. You don't transfer assets; you sell them into the trust. Okay. So you would then sell it into the trust; it becomes a trust asset. Okay. However you want to do it, you can do it both ways. Once it is inside the trust as an asset, any rental income coming in is not going to be considered a taxable event for the trust.
Okay, so let's say I rent the house for, I believe we're going to get around $8,000 to $10,000 a month net in income on that property. So it spits out $8,000 to $10,000. Can I use that $8,000 to $10,000?
Sure, because it's inside you're the trustee of the trust. You're the trustee of the trust, and you have 100% discretion. That's one of the pillars of the trust, a discretionary trust. Okay. So you use the money inside the trust to make other investments. Absolutely.
I can't use it on expenses, though.
You can, absolutely.
Okay.
There's so much more of a wide leeway of what a trust expense is as opposed to what a write-off is with an LLC or an S corp or C corp. Okay. I have a trust myself. I would say that 85 to 90% of what I do and spend can be considered a trust expense, and not just for a business, but also for family, also for children. I mean, it's amazing how many things the trust can pay for as a legitimate trust expense, and you're paying for that with with the money that is inside your trust that is not taxed. So you're
So
paying
walk
for
me through some of these expenses. Like, what could those be?
okay. For example, let's say if you any let's say your personal residence is in there. You got your house, right? Trust pays for everything for that. In vehicles, every
I can sell my personal so I own my home free and clear. I can
yes.
sell my house to my trust.
Mhm.
So I no longer own the house now. The trust owns the house.
You control it, you don't own it. Yes.
Okay,
I
so the
mean,
trust owns it. Do I then? So my utilities, the taxes,
yep,
insurance,
mhm,
landscaping.
yep,
The
everything.
how about the clean? How about my cleaners?
Yep.
My all of it.
Everything is a trust expense paid for by the trust. Okay. For if you have children younger than 21, everything except for fun is covered as a trust expense. Education, wellness, tutoring, whatever you want, the trust pays for it. For adults beneficiaries, it can pay for anything except what we call the three F's: food, fashion, and fun. Okay. But anything to do with wellness, I mean, take the wife on a spa getaway. That's wellness. That is a trust expense. Uh, you know, uh, like I said, it's very the food, fashion, and fun. But then again, there's ways. I can show you how you can get money for that too. With a trust that you can even when it's not covered as a trust expense, you can get money from the trust to be able to pay for that, and that's a non-taxable event. This entire strategy is designed around never having a taxable event. And the trust, and
Wow.
that's just like this is just one part of it. Like I said, the first part is passive income. So that money you're talking about, that $8,000 to $10,000 that's coming in as a rental, that's passive income for the trust. And so that comes in. It's not a taxable event. Again, it's in the corpus of the trust. It's not distributed to the beneficiaries. Now that's in your bank account. You're putting it out for expenses. You're buying more stuff. Whatever investing in whatever you want, it's there, and you're not going to check the IRS on that. Second thing is that any trust asset that is sold at a profit and as long as it's comes into I keep repeating myself because it's important everybody understand this. As long as it's allocated to the corpus of the trust and is not distributed to the beneficiaries, that is a non-capital gains tax event for the trust.
So
So
I
no,
donate my home to the
you
trust.
sell it. You don't donate it. You sell it
I
to the
sell it
trust.
to the trust. Sorry, I
Yeah.
sell the house to the trust, and
Yes.
then the trust sells the house for say 2 million bucks.
Yes.
It
Let's
can't
say
give me the money, but it can be used as in those expenses as long as it's not food, fun, or fashion.
right. And so, well, it could be used for fun and or food and fashion for the children if you have minor beneficiaries. But so basically, then what this is the death of the 1031 exchange.
Mm.
You no longer need a 1031 exchange because, again, if the investment property is an asset of the trust, you just list it or sell it, however way you want to get, you want to consummate the deal, whether you pay commission or not. The title company wires the money into your trust bank account, and you don't have to pay capital gains on that. It's inside the
Wow.
yes.
So
And
let's talk about my income, right? Because because you said I can take
that's
my
next.
income and make that a part of the trust. So
That's next. That's the third thing.
how does that work?
Okay, I'll show you this right now. Okay, so as I've already shown, is that passive income for the trust will not be considered a taxable event with this trust. Okay, so the challenge for you is we need to convert a big chunk of your net income, excuse me, your ordinary income into passive income and get it into the trust. And that's what this strategy does. And it's
Okay.
mind-blowingly simple, elegant, and legal, and it works. Here's what you would do. Okay, so you're going to run your business through an LLC, right? So that's the scenario. So what you're going to do is you're going to make your trust a 90% member of your LLC, a limited member of your LLC. Okay, follow me there so far?
I am.
All right. You're going to sell your LLC's assets into the trust. And that's
Okay.
both intangible, everything up here, and tangible assets. They are going to be sold into the trust. The trust is going to lease those assets back to your LLC. Okay.
Okay.
Now, you run your business like normal. You're going out there, you're generating revenue, you're writing, you're writing stuff off, you're expensing things out, you're deducting what you can. Eventually, you're going to hit, your pre-tax net income. Now, what we're doing here is essentially we're adding two more expenses to your LLC. That's going to move a big chunk of that money over to the trust as a passive income expense income for the trust is an expense for the LLC. The first thing is the lease. Remember, your trust owns your LLC's assets. It's leasing them over now to the to the LLC. So the IRS will allow up to 70% of an LLC's pre-tax net income to be used as a lease payment. Okay. So if we have $1 million is your LLC's pre-tax net income, as much as $700,000 of that can go over to the trust as a lease payment. You can do it monthly, quarterly, bi-monthly, whatever, bi-yearly, whatever, however you want to work it. Okay. So then a huge chunk of your pre-tax net income is going over to the trust as a lease payment.
Okay.
So let's say that we had 700,000. We've moved your pre-tax net income from $1 million, which would
To
be
300.
to 300,000. So there's just one more expense we have to take care of for your LLC. Remember, the trust is a 90% member of your LLC, a limited member. So now it gets a K1 distribution of 90% of 300,000, which is 270,000, and goes over to the trust as a K1. So now your pre-tax net income has been lowered from $1 million down to $30,000. That's what you're going to calculate your taxes on. And the $970,000 went over to the trust as passive income.
And the trust pays no tax.
Okay, because as trustee, according to IRS Code 643, all this passive income that has come into your trust on your tax report, your 1041, you can declare all of that passive income as an extraordinary dividend for the trust. And again, according to IRS Code 643, it is allocated to the trust. It's not dispersed to the beneficiaries. That money is now not a taxable event for the trust.
What's the likelihood of getting audited?
This has been around for decades. It is in the tax code. And I tell you, I work with a law firm that is the one that creates this trust. They've been doing it for over 50 years. And Jamil, I want you to see this because in 2015, the IRS did produce what they called a private finding letter for this type of transaction, for this trust. Okay, it goes in there. They went through it, the entire trust, and they have in there saying, the extraordinary dividend, the 643, the trust, and so forth, and it's legal.
Okay, so it's legal. Now I got a question about like how some expenses get paid. So because I'm super into this. If this can work, Don, you don't understand this. I'm gonna have to like send you money for this because like you don't even understand what this does for me. Okay, let's just say my monthly expenses are like 40 grand. Okay. Wife buys Amazon, Fashion Nova, blah, 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 blah. Right. So how does that get paid?
All right. So
because right now she's just dumping into the bank account, paying off her Chase, and magically every month enough money for her to pay off her credit card shows up.
Okay, so remember, the trust cannot pay for food, fashion, or fun. However, there is one other aspect of this strategy that I didn't cover. I'll cover it right now. When you sell your assets into the trust is not giving you money as consideration. It's giving you a note.
Okay.
Which is basically an IOU, right?
Okay.
So think about this. Every time you're selling an asset into the trust, it can be a business asset, doesn't have to be personal. every time, because it's an irrevocable trust and it has to be a sale, consideration has to be given. So the value of the asset that you are selling into the trust owes you that money.
Okay.
Right? So you're given what we call it a demand note. Like I said, it could be called a promissory note, however way you want to do it. It's kind of like seller financing in real estate to help people better understand it. Okay, so let's say that you have and it always grows, right? I mean, every asset that comes in, that note grows. The trust owes you more and more money. Okay, so whenever you want, you can just say, you know what? I need $100,000 for food, fashion, and fun. The trust will cut you a check and lower your demand note or your IOU by $100,000. Okay, so then, but here's the beautiful thing: that's not a taxable event for you.
Why?
Because it owes you money. It's an IOU. It's
But isn't
basically
it income for me then?
no, it's not. It's not income. So basically, so what you would do is with the kind of volume you're bringing in, all the real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just lay it out here. Say I bring in $500,000 a month.
Yeah,
So I go throw, all of 90% of that goes to my trust.
right.
I keep,
Look. Let me just say- let me just say,
$50K.
my example, I was going through and showing you the maximums, what you can do. Obviously, you've got to look at your cash flow situation and you decide what you need. And if your wife is like my wife who likes to spend money, you got to make sure you can cover all of that as well, right? And so maybe you don't want to put, as much as 97, percent of your income there. Maybe you want to do 50, whatever it is, but understand that the trust can pay for a lot, but if it can't pay for food, fashion, and fun, and that's a significant, major expense for you, you can mitigate a lot of that by drawing from your demand note. But maybe you're going to bite the bullet, and you're going to have to just, pay that with post-tax dollars.
Listen, if I got to cut a check to the IRS for $200,000 a year, I'm happy.
Right.
I'm totally okay to send that money. Mwah, goodbye. Take it, tax man. I'm cool. I've been thinking about moving to Puerto Rico.
Oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Seriously.
Because I'm like, this is stupid. Because I got Uncle Sam as my business partner, and he doesn't do jack.
I cannot listen. I am not, like I said. I mean, I'm not a licensed tax authority. I'm not a legal authority.
So how do you help people do this? Because I'm your client. I'm like,
I'm just saying. Okay, this is for informational purposes only. Okay. So I will
disclaimer. We'll put that for informational purposes. Just hey, editor, put that on the screen. Informational purposes only.
Yes,
got
exactly.
it.
Having said that, okay, I have a trust. All right. I have a CPA who specializes in the trust, serving trust clients. Okay. You can significantly lower your tax burden by using this trust and this strategy. I mean, when you told me that, I just went, "Oh my gosh, this guy."
My CPA recommended I buy a Rolls. You don't even understand. I bought a Rolls Royce today.
Yeah.
For $175,000 tax break.
Right.
I have no business driving a car like that. I don't care. I like my Ford Bronco. It's fun. Now I'm going to have a $500,000 car sitting in my garage because I wanted to save $175,000 in taxes. Like this is stupid.
I know. I've been there. I've done that. Trust me. I've done that. I know exactly what you're talking about. And like I said,
I'm pissed off now. You ruined my day.
The nice thing is the trust had bought it. Then the trust pays for all the expenses.
Can the trust buy it now?
Sure.
I can sell it to the trust.
You sell it to the trust. You get a bill of sale, and now the trust pays for everything. It's a trust expense for everything with that. Every single asset that you sell into the trust is now responsible to pay for.
So what happens when I die?
You just this is
because I eat chicken wings, a lot of them.
Well, so do I. So this is how I have it in my trust. The beneficiaries of my trust are my wife, my 2 adult children, and my grandson.
Okay.
Right? So I'm a trustee of my trust. Well, I mean, it's not theoretically. I mean, let's face it, it's not my trust.
So this is what they say when they say trust fund baby.
Basically, yes.
So okay. I'm gonna have trust fund babies.
Yes.
Cool. I wasn't wanting.
My wife is the successor trustee. So when something happens to me, she takes over as trustee. If we go together, let's hope it doesn't happen. But if it does, then my daughter will be the successor trustee, and she'll take over.
What if, okay, so I love my wife, but what if you don't trust your trustee?
Well, then you would make someone else a trustee.
Okay, got it. I'm just, hey, look, there's gonna be people watching here look, they're gonna be side eyeing that lady beside him or that dude beside him. They're gonna be like,
Well, you have, as trustee, you have 100% discretion. You can add and remove beneficiaries at your leisure, at your whim. You control everything. Okay, so if you have a beneficiary that's a horse's ass and maybe is on drugs or whatever, you can remove that beneficiary, and there's no right of appeal. There's no judge and jury. You are the judge and jury. You say you're out, and that's it. They're gone.
Don, how long have you been doing this strategy?
It's been about a year now.
Have you had any audit situations come of it?
No.
Do you know of others who have done it that have been audited?
Well, I can tell you this. Remember I told you about the IRS private finding letter ruling? That was done as a result of an issue that the IRS saw in a certain transaction or a certain tax return. And so they went through and basically audited it, okay? And so this was their finding. And so that's when they went through and said, yeah, this is absolutely legal. The law firm has been doing this for, like I said, 50 years. And they have defended the trust a number of times. It has never been cracked. It has never been overturned. And it has been ruled over and over that this strategy is absolutely 100% legal. And if there is a situation with that, the law firm will work with your local counsel to defend it, to make and it has, as it has for the last 50 years. Not one time has it ever been has the IRS ever won, ever.
Man, Don, this I've got to say, I talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm interested by everybody, but I don't think I've ever had a conversation with somebody where I think that they could have made me $1 million in one conversation.
Do you think I didn't regret all the millions I was making back in the Great Recession? I did not know about this.
I'm like, I wish I had a time machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk so much about the taxes because it's exciting for people, but you know what? People underestimate, even I underestimate the asset protection part of it. They can't you cannot penetrate this trust. So, they can't come after you or as trustee, they can't come after you and your beneficiaries. They can't come after your assets. They are in a titanium vault.
So let's say like I'm OJ Simpson. That's a terrible thing. But let's just say
No, say OJ.
Okay, I'm OJ Simpson, okay?
He never paid a dime to the Goldmans, even though they won a $34 million civil suit against him. You know why? Because he put his assets into the trust. He sold them in the trust before he killed them, allegedly, right? And so they could not come after them. They were protected. He will never pay a dime to them. He's got his assets in a trust like this.
I'm mind blown, dude.
Yeah.
I've always wondered how people get into trouble, but then you like see them on tabloids and they're eating that Carbone in Miami. It's like, bro, I know that's $1,000 dinner.
Yeah.
How you doing that? You don't have no money.
Right. Exactly. And the nice thing is that, listen, we were talking about Puerto Rico before. I have
one of my very good friends moved his whole entire family. Jerry Norton's in Puerto Rico now with 30 kids and a wife out in Puerto Rico because he was tired of paying 40% tax. So I think in Puerto Rico he pays like 5.
Yeah, I think it's 4. But
4,
yeah. So I met with someone recently about a month ago, and he saw one of my TikTok videos and he reached out to me and he says, "Look, I'm stuck here in Puerto Rico, and my wife told me we move back to the States or we get divorced."
Well, I've heard it's a hard place sometimes. It's a big shock. And I had the conversation with my wife a few weeks ago, and I was like, "Honey, I like you in a bikini.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be wonderful if you and I lived in a place where you got to wear them all day long, like Puerto Rico.
Right?
What do you think?" And she basically said, "If you move me to Puerto Rico, I ain't coming."
Right. Exactly. So his wife gave him the ultimatum. We leave or you stay here by yourself. And so he reached out to me, and we were able to get him the trust, and they're moving back. And he's like, "Man, I wish I would have known about this before."
So you're saving marriages.
Yeah, yeah, we're doing God's work.
Don, I really like you, man. You're quickly becoming a one of my favorite people. Like when we started, I liked you,
Yeah.
but as this conversation has progressed, you're becoming one of my favorite folks. So how does it work? What do I do? How do I get involved? Because I'm your client right now. Tell me where to send the check. Yvette, she's in the background right now. We don't see her, but
Right.
she's watching and listening. Tell her where to send the check to create the trust, because I'm ready.
Well, we will send you a trust application,
Okay.
and
Send it to her. She fills out my application.
The application, you need to know basically four things.
Okay.
And the application asks what the name of your trust is going to be. Number one.
It's going to be called "Leave Me Alone."
There you go. Okay, so then you're gonna decide who the trustee is going to be. I'm assuming that's going to be you, and the compliance overseer, which is the same thing, and then who the beneficiaries are, and then who's the settlor. Because the way this works,
The what? The Seth Lord?
Settlor. It's
Settlor. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking
not
some
a
Star Wars
Sith
stuff.
Lord. No, not a Sith Lord from Star Wars.
Okay.
But the settlor, it's a non-grantor trust.
Okay.
And you cannot get any tax breaks if it's a grantor trust, which means the trustee cannot be the person that opens the trust up. So, because the IRS will think that the trust and you are an alter ego, and you'll get no tax advantages. Okay, so it has to be a non-grantor trust.
So what does that mean? So I need to have somebody I trust come in and do this for me?
You just need to have someone. We will send. So basically, in the application, you put down who the settlor is going to be. We're going to use that settlor's information to get your EIN number for the trust. That person is then going to officially create the trust, is going to name you as the trustee, and then that settlor is going to fall on his sword and resign. At that point in time,
And that's legal to happen too, because won't they say this is like an evasive maneuver or some?
Oh, it is standard.
It's not your alter. It's not your alter ego bringing in a non-alter ego to circumvent the alter ego that's your ego.
Oh, this is absolutely 100% legal. That This happens all the time in non-grantor trust. Just somebody else. I mean, for me, it was my neighbor. My neighbor did it. So he formed the trust, named me trustee, and then he resigned. Okay. And so then at that point in time, so you just need to put that information on the application, and then who the beneficiaries are. That's it. That's all you have to do. You send it to us, and then we.
How much does it cost?
I'll get to that. It depends on what you're going to do on your how sophisticated your business structure is. At its core, it's a beneficial trust. It costs $21,500. Okay. And then now, if you have multiple businesses with multiple partnerships, then it's going to be not possible to run everything through that trust. So you'd want to get a business trust in addition. Okay. So it depends. Again, not knowing what your business structure is, but you always want to have the beneficial trust, because that's where your asset protection is for your personal assets, and that's where you want the money to flow eventually from whatever business you're doing. If it's an LLC, send it to you. If it's a business trust, send it to you. Either way, it's got to go to your beneficial trust. That's where all your personal tax advantages are. Okay. A business trust is more like you've got maybe 4 or 5 different businesses. You have other partners. You have preset distributions. That's much better, because a business trust can have unlimited DBAs, bank accounts. You run that through the business trust, but the flow of income for you goes into your beneficial trust.
Yeah, I have exactly what you just said. I've got multiple businesses, some with partners, actually all with partners, and then my LLC, that is where the majority of the income comes into, and then
you probably need a business trust as well. But
so then there's 2 trusts. So this will probably cost me what, 42,000?
Yeah, 42,000. And it's not the IRS. The check's not going to go to the IRS. That's for sure. But it's going to significantly lower your tax burden, 100%.
So is there a good time so with the beginning of the year should I have done this last year, or do I do this now in January?
My wife is a Russian. and I speak Russian with her. And the Russians have a saying. No, they're not very popular in the world right now, but they have a saying: the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today, right? So obviously, it would behoove you to set this up if you want to move on this to do it as soon as you can, so that way you lower your tax burden in 2023. Get it set up.
There's no way to do it for 2022, right? It's too late.
It's too late. Yeah. I mean, you can't claw back anything. I mean, you could play around with the K1, but I mean, we're December 14th, and it does take about a week or so to get this set up. You know, it's not realistic to
Yeah.
get anything back on 2022. But I guarantee you'll be doing much better in 2023. 100%.
Man, this was great.
Yeah, it
This is
is.
a great conversation, Don. I gotta admit, man. I learned a lot. We all learned a lot today. We learned about how we can help more of the homeowners that we're working with
Yes.
figure out in situations of negative equity how not to put themselves in a bad spot, but to create an opportunity in a short sale. It's always better than a foreclosure.
Mhm.
How you as a wholesaler can participate in that situation, working with Don and his business partner, who have been doing this for over 20 years with a 5-star rating at the Better Business Bureau. They're highly reputable. And I highly recommend that if you're in one of these situations, that you reach out to Don for negotiating those and working with the banks to get that kind of deal done. He has stated that he will JV with you, and he'll also remunerate or pay referral fees to the listing agents or the real estate agents involved in those transactions. So it's a win-win-win.
Mhm.
Homeowner, agent, yourself, and Don can all win on a deal.
Mhm.
If you guys do business, make sure you send me a DM on IG and thank me for introducing you to this lovely man. In addition, I learned a tremendous amount today about how I've been a fool, all these years paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS when there are so many rich people out there who don't live in Puerto Rico that have been figuring out how to mitigate their tax burdens through, say it one more time.
Non-grantor, irrevocable, complex, discretionary, spendthrift trust. And if
Complex it is, but
anybody who's out there,
amazing.
yeah, reach out to me.
Yeah.
Jamil can give you my information, and we can talk to you. I'll do a free strategy session with you and show you how much we can help you save.
Awesome. Now, for those that are not going to be on a PC, where they're not going to be listening to or looking at the description below, why don't you verbally give out your information where people can find you?
Okay, well, I would say this. I'm a very open person. My phone number's been out for 20 years, so I'm just gonna just jot this number down. Reach out to me and say that that you saw this this broadcast, Jamil's broadcast on his show, and just say, text me at 407-902-7827. Just say, hey, I saw you on Jamil's show. I'm interested, and I'll text you back.
Guys, I highly recommend working with Don if you're making significant money. And I've got a ton of astro flipping students that are making well over $500,000 a year. Guys, reach out to Don. It's worth the $21,500 to create the trust, and stop with the bleeding to for the tax man. It's funny. I have these conversations. I do a live stream every couple of weeks with tax planners, and nobody has told me about this yet. I'm so pissed off.
Most of them don't. Most of them don't know themselves, But I guarantee you, within 2 years, I think I think no one will use 1031 exchanges anymore because of this. At the very minimum, because why would you want to?
Now, does this attorney also prepare my taxes for me every year too, and deal with
No,
that?
we have a network of CPAs that you can work with. The attorney, the law group, they create the trust for you and everything. It's all coming from them. We have a relationship with them. We have a license to promote, sell, and service trust clients, but they're the ones that actually, create the trust for all of our clients.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Don, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, talking with you today, and learning a lot about short sale situations, about how to mitigate our tax burdens. Guys, I highly recommend you give Don a follow. All of his social media contacts will be below. His contact information he just gave you, but they'll also be below in the description links. And guys, make sure you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe to his channel. to subscribe to his channel and like his videos and go listen to what this guy has to say. I mean, listen, I've been doing this business since 2002, and it's really hard to surprise me with information. I'll tell you, I've heard and seen everything except what I heard and saw today. Incredible, Don. It's been a pleasure. Been really enjoyed having this conversation. And guys, we will see you again here on my YouTube channel, and like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, jabroni. Until next time, later. Thanks for watching another one of my YouTube videos. Now it's your turn to go out and take some action. But before you do, like and subscribe to my channel, because the law of reciprocity means you owe me, bitch.